they are. That's going to be my starting point. And looking at this object, I can see that the top view is really the most important view. And then second, I would say, would be the right side view. And the front view is the last view that is of interest to me. It conveys the least amount of information. So the top view is really where it's at, and that's what I'm going to start with. So this is the top view that we're looking at right now. And this intersection represents the hole on the left. So what I need to do right now is get to the hole on the right. And that is going to define my object's length, and you'll see why. So the distance between those two holes, if you look there, it says 3 7/8. So I need to offset this line 3 7/8 of an inch. You know, we might want to learn these decimal values. It's easy to do. You just type in the 7 and then you divide by the 8, right? So if you do that, 7 divided by 8, you'll get the decimal value 0.875. So really, that distance is 3.875. So I'm going to go to my offset. I'm going to type in 3.875, enter, click the line, and click over. I'm going to zoom in just a little closer here. And now I have the centers of the two holes that are in that top view. They're even more important because they're also the centers of the arcs that make up the outside profile here. So I'm going to go to my object layer and show you what I'm talking about. The circles, or the holes, are dimensioned as 1/2 of an inch. So if I say D, enter, and then type 0.5, enter, there you go. So again, C, enter, click that point, and then say you want to do the diameter, D, enter, and then type the value, 0.5. So those are the holes, but the arcs that go around those holes are quite a bit bigger. And I know it's a little hard to read, but it says 5/8 for the radius. So if I go to my circle command and I click here, I'm not going to type D, enter, because I don't have a diameter value. I have a radius value, and that's 5/8. So I'm going to type what 5/8 is. The decimal for 5/8 is 0.625. So there it is. And we'll do it over here as well. Okay. So those are the holes and the arcs around the holes that make up the profile in the top view. All right, let's keep going. There is a center portion that is squarish, rectangular. And you can see it is 2 inches wide. So there's basically a 2-inch rectangle in the center that's 2 inches wide, and the height of it is 2 1/4. So how would we go about doing that? If I make a line from center to center, I can use that line's midpoint to create this geometry that we're talking about here. So I'm going to now go to my construction layer and just grab hold of that midpoint and do a vertical line upward. I also could have offset half that distance, but rather than do the math, which would have been dividing 3 7/8 by 2, which is a little tricky, I just did this other trick, which is just clicking on the midpoint of a line that connects them. So that works out pretty well. And now I can just delete that. So I've got my object's center line here, and I am ready to offset it on both sides, and this one on both sides to find that rectangle. And again, going side to side, as you can see, the width is 2 inches, which would mean the center line would have to be offset 1 inch on each side. So we'll do that. O, enter, 1, enter, and just put it 1 inch on each side. And then going the other direction, this center line would need to be offset half of 2 1/4 inches, which is 1 1/8. And that is 9/8. So you could enter in 9/8, or you could type in the decimal value of 9/8, which is 1.125. So O, enter 1.125. That is half of 2 1/4. And now you have the rectangle that makes up the center of this thing, the core. So there it is. 2 inches across and 2 1/4 inches up and down. And we did that by offsetting these center lines half the distance on both sides. And then you would just connect them. So in my line command, I can come over here and grab hold of tangent snap. There it is. Same over here. I'm hitting the enter button to get out and the enter button to get back in, and there it is. And I'd like to point out how the nearest snap right here is giving us trouble. Look at this. The nearest is popping up right next to tangent, because the thing with nearest is that it basically grabs hold of wherever the cursor is near to a line or an arc. So you got to make really sure you have that right. And this, I'm telling you, it's probably a good idea to turn that nearest snap off. So I'm going over there, I'm turning it off. And now when I do my line, you can see the nearest snap's not popping up. It's just going for that tangent, and we're good. There, whoops. There it is. Okay. Of course, I can trim out the inside of this arc now, and this might be a good time to do that. You should turn off your construction lines so that you don't get these little bits in here. If you leave them in place and you go to trim, you can see you get these little pieces in here. So it's a better idea to turn off your construction line and then trim away like that. And then you can turn them back on. So now this thing's starting to look a lot like it's supposed to. Still in the top view, we have these pieces that are going to come out of here, and their width is half of an inch, so we can offset that right now. O, enter, 0.5, enter. Half inch over. And we can draw those lines. All right. And then all that's remaining in the top view is the lines showing us where the slot goes through. And that slot is a half of an inch. So from the center, we would go over 1/4 inch on each side. So offsetting 0.25 on each side, up and then down. And then I can do this right here. And as far as the object lines go, this view is done. So we'll come back later to do center lines, but that's it for the object. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, and we'll move to the other views. The other view I'm going to do next is the right side view. Like I was saying, it's the front view has the least amount of information. So to get my right side view going, I need to create my transfer line, XL, enter, A, enter, 45, enter. And I'm just going to put that kind of randomly about there. And then I'm going to project these lines downward. Using vertical construction line. I'm going to trim this off. Get rid of that. And now I need to have a construction line that is going to represent the bottom here. You could offset this one or draw a new one. I think I'll just draw a new one. Kind of randomly there. And then I'll start working my way up. So the thickness of this base plate is 7/16. So you can type in 7/16, or you can divide 7/16 and come up with the decimal value, which is 4375. So O, enter, 7/16, or 0.4375, and offset that guy upward. So that's the thickness of that plate. The next height to deal with is going to be the overall height, which is 2 inches. So I'll type in 2, enter. And that's how tall this thing is in total. And lastly, the center of the arc that makes up this slot in here, which is 1¼ inches from the bottom. So I'm going to offset 1.25, and there it is. So this distance was offset 7/16. This distance was offset 1.25, and this one up here was 2 inches from the bottom. So those are our offsets, and now we are pretty good shape to draw this thing out. Now that's close to what it is. The truth is this distance on the top isn't squared off. It actually tapers in. So that distance is the actual length on the top is 1½ inches, and what we have right here is 2¼ So what I'm getting at is these corners don't really come in like that. They're more like this. Okay. So let's find out exactly where that corner is. It shows it being 1½ inches wide, which means from center, it's 3/4 of an inch over. So let's offset. O, enter, 3/4 of an inch, or 0.75. And that's where it really goes. So I can grab these two lines and then bring it to there. Same thing here. Click these two lines and then bring it to there. Okay. And again, the way I knew that is it shows on the drawing that the distance from this line to this line is 1½. So I just offset the center line half of that distance on each side, which is 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to turn off my construction lines for a minute and trim out this piece here. The other thing I need to do while I'm here is put the radius on this corner. So it shows that as being a 1/4 of an inch radius. Hopefully you guys remember how to do that. You go to the fillet command here or type F enter, and then you need to change the radius. And to do that, you type R enter, and then you enter the value, which is 0.25, enter. And now you click the lines that you need to radius. So again, that was fillet or F enter, and then you follow that up with R enter, and then you follow that up with the value 0.25, enter, and then you click the lines. All right, as far as object lines go, the right side view is complete. So now we'll work on the front view. I do need to bring these construction lines down. So I'm going to do that, and I could just go to my construction layer, or I could copy these. Maybe I'll do that. CO, enter this one. And I'll just copy that from there to there, and I'll put one over here. So that's another way that you can create your construction lines, is copy existing ones. And now I will do the base plate there. And then there you go, this one and this one. Again, for the object lines, we're done. We do have, of course, the hidden lines and center lines to take care of. So let's get on that. I think we will start with the this right side view. So that hole right there is visible in the right side view. Here it is. And its hidden lines are going to be there and there, and its center line, of course, will be in the middle. This object is symmetrical in both directions, interestingly. It's symmetrical all the way this way. It's symmetrical all the way this way. And we should note that. Remember, center lines go beyond the object a 1/4 of an inch. We also need to do a few more 1/4 of an inch offsets for our actual dimensions. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to go to offset, O, enter, and type in 0.25. And offset the outer construction lines a few times here. And you can just delete the ones you're not going to use. It doesn't matter. Or just leave them. We end up turning them off anyway. So there's nothing wrong with doing this a few times just to help you do your dimensions and such. Basically, again, what we're doing is we kind of create a grid on the outskirts. And yeah, is it better than using the existing grid? I think so. Okay, so we've got enough 1/4 inch offset construction lines. I think we can go forward. Go to my center layer, do this big center line that comes across the whole thing. Same in this direction. And then the holes themselves. Remember how to do this holes. The holes themselves, a nice way to do that is to offset them a 1/4 of an inch temporarily, and then use that intersection to draw your center line. There it is. And then you can just delete those circles that you use to help make the center lines. Do this one over here. I see. I need to offset this guy 1/4 of an inch as well. There it is. And now I can do that, those center lines there. And this guy through here, I will have to offset him 1/4 of an inch as well. There you go. Interesting. Same with this one over here to get this arc. That's also going to require that offset. And you can put that in place. Starting to look pretty good. I think that's all of the center lines. Let's do our hidden lines. And these guys I can just copy over here. Copy them by the center line where it intersects the bottom. So that makes it easy. I do need to show the underside of this arc in these. And I want to use a construction line to project that over. So I could copy one or make a new one. I think I'll just copy this one. And now I can draw these lines. Okay, I think I have all of the drawing done. And now we'll do these dimensions. Again, trying to put as much on the inside as we can. And trying to do this in the view where things appear to be what they are here. So that would be the overall length. And this is a good time to point out the fact that we do not typically measure from the outside of an arc to the outside of an arc when we're specifying the overall length. It is okay to do that if you put it in parentheses, but it's more important to show it from center to center because that's really how things are made. So if you were going to give the overall length of this thing, which I will do, it would be something like this. You would go from end to end, and before you place it, enter, you would put a parenthesis mark around the beginning, and then you arrow over to the edge and put one on the outside. And now you can place that guy. So that, and what the parentheses are telling us is basically that this is just for reference. Okay. We'll talk more about that later. But the more accurate measurement is the distance from center to center. Okay, so we got that one in place. What is next? The distance of the these guys to one another, perhaps, as 2 inches. That's a pretty important dimension. Their thickness is a pretty important dimension. So you might say that one would go above, and then this one would go here. Technically, you would not need to dimension it on both sides because we are showing that this thing is symmetrical. So that should be enough. If you wanted to dimension it on the other side, that would be okay, but really it's not necessary. total height would be a good one to have here. All right, in this dimension, I'm going to pull off and put him in the middle. That looks good there. Just going through and checking these dimensions, seeing if I'm missing any. Definitely need that one there. So from here to here. Yeah, things are looking pretty good. How about the arcs? Let's go to our radius and dimension this guy. And pull that out. I could put that anywhere I want. Maybe over here. And I might want to move all of this to make room. It's hard to say, but I'll just put it there for now. That's not the best spot, to be honest. But maybe we'll come back to that. Of course, we got this radius we want to acknowledge. What else? The distance between these guys, that was an important one. So remember, this distance from here to there was the 1.5 inch. So that was an important dimension. So you can see as we place these dimensions, it becomes more obvious that some of these things need to be relocated. So you might do that and then maybe move this one here, or that and this one lower. Something like that. I think we're pretty close to having all of the dimensions on. I might fine tune this a little bit after you guys leave, but obviously you want to put the border on and such.